a new number one in Class 4A this week, and 14 of the 16 slots saw a different team. So 14 movers this week in Class 4A. Again, my name is Cade Nissen, delivering our IA football rankers, their polls for this week. We got the top 16 coming in. Without further ado, let's just get right on into it. As you can see, Class 4A football rankings week 4 are here, starting with 16 through 11. Ballard, they're 1-2. They lost to Creston 48-28. Creston proving themselves as a top team in Class 3A. So, quality loss, if you want to call it that. Ballard moves down 3 spots and will hold on to the top 16. Dennis and Schleswig at number 15. They're new. They took down Carroll 31-7 last week. So they will jump into our Class 4A rankings at the 15 spot. And at number 14, Decorah, they are 3-0. They beat Crestwood 34-6, and they make their debut in our IA football polls this year. At number 13, a team that just keeps on climbing, Gilbert. They beat Mason City 27-15 last week. They jump up 3 spots into the 13 slot this week. At number 12, Newton. They drop 4 spots. They lose to Norwalk 32-15. Tough game for the Cardinals, but they stay in our top 16 because Norwalk obviously proving to be a very good team in this class. At number 11, Indianola, they jump up 1 spot. They beat Pella 30-21. But without further ado, let's get right into our top 10. At number 10, Glenwood, lost in a walk-off field goal against 3A's top 3 team in Harlan last week. They get number 15, Denison, before a big one against Lewis Central. So some big games for Glenwood coming up, and they're obviously led by Caden Anderson, who leads the team with 485 passing yards. At number 9, another team that stayed the same, Lamar's, probably one of the quietest 3-0 starts in 4A this season. They have not beat anyone great, but they are finding ways to win. They have a rather easy schedule and can shock some people and finish the year as an 8-1 or 9-0 squad. At number 8, Bondurant Ferrara, dominating performance over Waverly Shellrock. They look to push their win streak to 3 as against a really good team in Lewis Central this week. I know Bondurant Ferrara, people aren't going to be happy with them dropping down 2 spots, but I tell you what, you get a shot against a top 5 team in Lewis Central this week that could really boost yourself back into that top 5. Obviously, Titus Cram, the star, 525 yards on the ground so far this season, 154 through the air. Also has 7 touchdowns. Jordan Ryle at the helm, quarterback, really big fan of his. And Reed Pletzgraf is a star. He's someone that's not really talked about very much in that Bondurant for our team, but man, he just makes plays after plays for that team, and he's a ton of fun to watch. And Bondurant for our Lewis Central, a game I'm considering going to this week to bring my camera. I did just see Lewis Central last week, though, and I'm trying not to hit a team twice. So I don't know, but it's definitely one I'm considering and one I'm going to be looking for this week. Number 7, North Polk. They moved down to nail-biter loss to number 3 in 3A Webster City. They really had this one in control early, up 14-0, and then kind of let it slip away. So really tough, but Isaac Zosky, quarterback, leads the way, 666 yards and 11 touchdowns through the air this season. They've got already quality wins over Bondurant Ferrara, so North Polk still plenty of time to prove themselves as a top 5 team in this class. At number 6, moving up 5 spots, your biggest jumper this week, 3-0 start to the year for Norwalk, moves them to number 6. Really nice win over Newton, who was in our rankings, obviously. They look to continue their winning ways against a talented ADM team. That's a huge game this week. Norwalk ADM. Quarterback Aiden Harder has 1,030 passing yards already this season and 10 touchdowns through 3 games. So Norwalk proving to be a extreme threat through the air. And speaking of their next opponent at number 5, ADM, who's going to really rely on their ground attack with Brevin Dole going down. That injury did not look good. Hoping Brevin gets back, gets healthy soon, has a speedy recovery. Wishing him the best. But man, what I saw out of ADM against Lewis Central, they lose Brevin Dole early in the second quarter, but Aiden Floor just about single-handedly carried this team to a win over Lewis Central. Couldn't get it done. He ran for like 330-something yards. I mean, I think everyone in that stadium knew that Flora was going to be the guy the rest of the way, and they still couldn't stop him. I mean, they did pick him off twice on 2-minute drives at the end of the game, but man, he was giving that Lewis Central defense fits all night. Just couldn't quite get it done against a Lewis Central team at the number 4 spot, who's basically saying I'm back. I think Lewis Central, they probably weren't happy dropping in our rankings, but a loss that early in the year is going to do that. But here they are back in our top 5, and um, we know very well that Lewis Central is a contender in Class 4A, and they proved that last week against a win over ADM. They get number 8 Bondurant Farrar this week, which is going to be a ton of fun. Probably another game similar to what they just had against ADM, just fireworks. It's going to be Titus Cram, Reed Pletzgraf, Curtis Whitty, Brady Hetzel. I mean, that there's going to be points on points on points again this week. That one's going to be a ton of fun. Again, Brady Hetzel has 621 passing yards thus far this season. At number 3, a team kind of becoming one of my favorites to check out for is North Scott, and they picked up a win over a really good Assumption team, a 3A Assumption team. But this week they're going to get their first true test of the season against Western Dubuque. Kyler Girardi has been a one-man wrecking crew, totaling over 1,100 total yards this season. He also has been a part of the 13 of the team's 19 offensive touchdowns. So North Scott, they are undoubtedly one of the elite teams. And speaking of Western Dubuque, how about a 2-game stretch of Xavier and North Scott for Western Dubuque? They fell to now number 1 Xavier, and the schedule, like I said, doesn't get any easier as they're going to take on Girardi and North Scott. But they do have a very balanced attack on offense with Tanner Anderson at QB and Grant Glouser leading the way at running back. Western Dubuque, a really good team. And they get a shot to bounce back. We always talk about those bounce back opportunities, and a perfect one for Western Dubuque, really losing a tight one at Xavier, but now you get a chance to beat a number 3 North Scott. So that one's going to be a ton of fun. And at number 1, their time outside of that number 1 spot was short-lived. Just 1 week outside of the number 1 spot. Xavier hops back in after ADM loses. They have a loss, but it is to the number 1 team in 3A. The win over Western Dubuque was enough to justify them jumping back up there. Ronan Thomas leading the way, 436 passing yards in the season, and Colton Beasler-Weber has added 329 yards in the ground for the Saints. He's proven to be their kind of lead back to this point. But that's all I got for Class 4A. Ton of good matchups this week, as you said. Western Dubuque, North Scott, Lewis Central, and Bondurant, ADM, Norwalk. I mean, going to be a ton of fun this week in Class 4A, and we're going to see some movement in next week's polls. So be sure to subscribe to IA Sports on YouTube, IA Football on all socials. Give us a follow and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know your opinions. I love when you guys message me or IA Football and let us know what we missed, what we got right. So I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will catch you guys next week.